Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, I mean from start to finish, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it. Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the red subscribe button down below and turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
Right. Tell me briefly your role at the Law Association of Zambia. Well, yes. I think that was very instrumental.
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to say earlier that I had been very instrumental in the politics. We call it the politics of the Law Association of Zambia because to lead that profession, you're almost like one of the opposition political figures. So I had started engaging in LAS politics way back in 1997 when then President of LAS, George Kunda, invited me to join, as one of the junior counsel initiative, and we were the subcommittee basically for junior lawyers. If you remember what happened in 1997, that's about the time that UPND was formed. In fact, UPND was invited to come and make a presentation. Mr. Mazoka, then the president, came and gave a presentation. And I think that's when I was identified with LAS politics. Because at that time,
at the Oasis Forum?
No, before the Oasis Forum. We had an AGM for the Law Association of Zambia, and we invited Mr. Mazoka for the new
as a guest of honor.
UPND as a guest of honor. And George Kunda found it prudent to ask me to move a vote of thanks to Mr. Mazoka's statement. And after that, I became a member of, a fixture of the subcommittees for LAS. Later, I got into council. When I left to go to Kenya, I was actually not serving on council, but I was serving on a subcommittee. I went to Kenya, and after 4 years, when I came back, I was again co-opted back into the council. I remained a council member from 2008 to 2012. In 2013, in fact, 2013, I transitioned into vice president of LAS. And in 2014, I was given the privilege of being the president of Law Association of Zambia, which I served for 2 years between 2014 and 2016. And politically, if you notice again, we went through a transition as a nation at the time that I was president of LAS. That's why, unfortunately, we lost the Republican president, Mr. Sata, sitting in office then, and we had to deal with how do we transition power within the Patriotic Front.
I was partly involved with that matter, other than the role of campaigning for President Lungu. When there were challenges by of the health of the head of state. Of course, you can't discuss the health of the president, head of state, publicly.
That's right.
Usually in secret meetings, in quiet meetings. And I used to tell them, the law provides that the vice president, Guy Scott, who acted as president.
Exactly.
So everyone dismissed me.
That's right.
Everyone dismissed me because they said, no. Look, President Michael Sata has been very clear. This man can't act as president. Of course, because of his heritage. And he said, even morally himself would not submit himself to act as president. I said, the law is the law. In fact, the day that President, I can let you in, the day that President Michael Sata died, I was with President Lungu with few others, Mukwita and Kaiser Zulu. And we just saw the president, at the time he was acting president, Lungu, pacing outside. We didn't know what he was dealing with.
Going on,
But at midnight, he came and dismissed us. So we left. So when we left, the first call I got was from Lengasata, who told me, Emmanuel, that discussion we had about the president and who will act, the president has died. So I drove back. I was on Los Angeles Road. I drove back because I knew that we were going to have a crisis, a constitutional crisis.
And in fact, we had it. If you remember then what happened at that time, there was so much opinion about who really should act as president. And the Attorney General then, he found it prudent to ask the Law Association of Zambia, to proffer an opinion about what this constitutional
and
status.
you were president at the time.
I was president at that time. I convened council and we sat and we deliberated on the matter. We consulted even state council because what we try and do in LAS, we want to make sure that if we give an opinion, it won't be owned only by the president. It will be owned by the whole profession at that time. So we, after doing back and forth consultation, we authored an opinion to the president, to the acting president, actually, Dr. Edgar Lungu. And believe it or not, for me, I have respected this president for the longest time. But even the reaction that he gave to the opinion that we gave to last, you know, for me, gave me the impression that we have got somebody who's got leadership qualities and who suits the profile of a president. Because I had expected, like others did, that there was going to be resistance.
Oh, serious
because
objection.
several other political players within the Patriotic Front were saying, no, Mr. Sata had said you're going to be acting. So insofar as we're concerned, you're supposed to continue acting.
He showed leadership. You know,
We
one day when we write books,
that's right,
we will tell the story.
I said
but I
time,
remember that night that I drove back and we began to make phone calls.
Yes.
And within an hour we had gathered, I think there were about 20 or 21 ministers, and we had gathered about 11 ministers.
Yes.
And the question was exactly that.
Exactly.
So I think the security cluster called for an emergency meeting that cabinet should be convened. And at 05:30, we all drove to State House. We didn't sleep.
Yes.
You know, discussing various options and consulting.
Yes.
And we drove to State House, and the meeting was convened. Musa Mwenye was then Attorney General,
that's right.
was in Livingstone.
Yes.
The Secretary of Cabinet had to ensure that we waited for the opinion from Musa Mwenye. And he came and gave what we perceived was a hostile opinion.
That's right.
But it was firm. He said the person to act was Guy Scott.
That's right.
But the leadership from President Lungu is exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly.
He didn't resist. No. Even when his colleagues said, look, we have powers amongst ourselves to make an acting president. He refused. He says, if the law says Guy Scott, let him be.
That's right.
And we, members across the country, PF members, were deflated because of the political dynamics.
Yes,
so I'm glad that you played a key role in that.
I had a conversation with him. You know, he called and said, look, we've got your opinion. And he said, in authoring this opinion, have you considered the ramifications of the decision that you are asking us to make? I said to him, sir, I'm a lawyer where I'm sitting. I didn't have to consider the other ramifications. For me, the responsibility was basically to interpret the constitutional imperative that requires for what to do. And he says, Mr. Sanga, I'm a lawyer, I respect your opinion. We will act according to what you guided us. And if you noticed, yes, the members of Patriotic Front inside, were deflated. But in the joking way, I said to the president, sir, I don't think you have to give it a worry. I think that the deceased president has already pointed the nation to where he would like us to go.
We should succeed.
This is just a process that we can take. Allow the Constitution to be respected. In fact, for me, if you demonstrated that, you are going to gain respect from the public, because then you'll be shown to be a person who wants to respect the spirit and the letter of the Constitution. And we just joked about it and said, oh, never mind, you've advised.
So it was under you and under President Lungu that we had this new Constitution ushered in.
The 2016 Constitution, yes.
From 2006, there was no consensus on constitutional making process.
In fact, from 1971.
Yeah, from 1971 we can
consensus in the nation.
So for the first time, we had an amendment of for various reasons. We couldn't amend the entire Constitution because of Part 3 of the Constitution that requires that it should be approved by referendum.
Yes.
But a new Constitution was birthed while you were last president.
Yes.
Just discuss that. How come the forces seems to have aligned and the president, stakeholders, and we had that amendment from Parliament. The UPN didn't really object to it, and it came to pass.
For me, what had been lacking, I think, for the longest period in the nation was the need to provide objective leadership to the constitutional making process, in the nation. If you see the experiences we've had with all the constitutional review programs we've managed as a nation, they have always been interfered with politically. And our case under Patriotic Front was not an exception, because we started this process with Mr. Sata in office. In fact, for us, we had etched into the Constitution, into our manifesto rather, a program that we were going to undertake to amend the Constitution of Zambia. In sitting, I was one of the lawyers who were advising from a legal perspective with Simbia Kula, Dr. Mulwila, and others when Winter was Secretary General of the party. We had agreed that how we were going to amend the Constitution was not to have another CRC. There was no need for it because we had collected so much literature about this Constitution. So we said we were going to create an expert, a body of experts.
Mainza Chona in 1971. Patrick Mvunga in 1990. Then 1996,
yes.
Mwanakatwe, John Mwanakatwe.
That's right.
Then Mungomba in two. Yeah.
Yes. You know, and so there was
so material
much
was there.
And it's not an easy and cheap assignment to do a CRC. So we then said, look, we're going to just collect all this information and create a document that people are going to speak to.
Because the views with Zambians have not necessarily changed, even on controversial issues.
They've been consistent. And that's why I'm saying making a constitution at this time in this country is become very easy because we've got all the material. And people have said the same thing from the beginning up to the time that the PF now was mandated to pass a constitution. Now, unfortunately, under Mr. Sata, we had again political interference. If you saw what happened, the interest groups within Patriotic Front, you know, made sure they scattered the process. Even at the time, we were almost done with it. So when Dr. Lungu was campaigning with you in 2015, he also said, look, I am going to ensure that under my watch, I will pass this constitution.
This new constitution, yes.
Of course, this constitution in a draft form, it had so many controversial provisions. And in providing leadership to it, after he was elected, he decided to ensure that we collect what can never be controversial, but also what is very important to maintain peace in the nation, but also to instill discipline in political leadership in the nation. That is what was a driving force between 2015 and 2016. The Law Association of Zambia collected that document, and we subjected to examination by various professionals within the profession. And we agreed that what was going to come in 2016 was possible an 80% compromise of what we were looking for in the constitutional process that we started as a Patriotic Front. Now, under the leadership of Dr. Edgar Lungu, we then passed the Act number 2 of 2016. You know, and in my assessment of constitutionalism, if we hadn't done what we did in 2016, right now this country would have been in chaos. Most of what we are preventing ourselves from doing is because we are imprisoned by this constitution.
What were some of the key features in this new constitution?
Some of the key features were basically, you know, how to transition the presidency, the most important. If the president dies in office, what do we do? You know, because we saw the problems that we had with Mr. Manawasa coming to RB, with Mr. Sata coming to Dr. Lungu himself. So the thinking was that we needed to avoid that mischief.
Instability during that period.
Absolutely, and we succeeded in doing it. Okay, there were also other issues concerning, you know...
but there were things like fixed calendar for elections. Zambians know when they will go to elections. It's no longer an executive issue.
Even that also was a plus for somebody who was leading the constitutional making process. You know, and also the number of cabinet, you know, the reduced cabinet, you know, and several other provisions that are contained in this constitution.
So we even forget about the deputy ministers, that there used to be deputy ministers.
That's what I'm saying. So that's a reduced number
of regarded as an unnecessary cost.
You know, so for me, I think Mr. Lungu was very firm, especially because he was driving the process when he was in State House. Any president sitting in State House would not want to pass a constitution that has a potential,
was going to harm him.
Yes, what has a potential of harming him. For me, it's a clear demonstration of selfless leadership that somebody is able to actually do that. You know, and he did it and it passed.
So 3 years later,
yes,
butane arose.
Exactly.
Butane was like an afterthought.
Yes.
That look, this constitution looks like a runaway train.
That's right.
There are many issues, many lacunas. So I think government proposed that there should be amendments to certain rights. But others oppose that allow the constitution to be tested.
That's right.
Why in a hurry to amend the constitution that is basically new? What was the thinking around butane?
Also consistent with what Mr. Lungu had said when passing Act number 2 of 2016, he declared at Heroes that, look, this is almost like a half-baked cake. I know there are going to be some issues that are going to arise when we begin to implement this constitution, so we must remain open-minded to address several other issues that might come to the fore. In fact, at that time, what the country had become busy with was now the Public Order Act and the Access to Information Bill. And those bills were in advanced stage. They were actually on the floor of the House when they were being discussed. The UPND then decided that, no, we have to suspend Access to Information Bill, we have to suspend the Public Order Act, we have to address the elephant in the room, which is the Constitution. For them, there were some lacunas that were in that Constitution that needed to be dealt with. And in ensuring that there was, wider stakeholder consultation, there was a demand that CSOs participate, the church participates, but driven by political parties. And that was a lock-in arrangement between the Patriotic Front and the UPND. But there's also an initiative that Zambians may not have known. There were also experts that were appointed to draft the Bill 10. But it was a negotiated document between the Patriotic Front and the UPND.
Why did it fail?
There was agreement. It's politics. Once you infuse politics in a constitutional-making process, Ambassador, you have actually lost the way. The UPND was playing double standards. Okay, in sitting on the table with the Patriotic Front at Siavonga, there were all these discussions. In sitting with the Patriotic Front at Intercontinental Hotel, there were all these agreements.
Yeah.
There was even, a portion of it where the UPND on its own went and consulted the church regarding Bill 10. The Patriotic Front on its own went and consulted the church on Bill 10, and the church was agreed that, look, there's consensus here. This document is a fantastic document. But when the UPND came to date the public, they started raising now the little issues, yes, that they had with Bill 10, saying, look, this is the PF trying to, extend its stay in power, trying to ensure that they bring in clauses that are controversial, but which are very helpful to them. So they whipped public opinion against the government and against the Bill 10 itself. And then, of course, if you recollect, there were many UPND MPs who supported Bill 10.
Yes, yes.
They were prepared to come to the House and vote in support of Bill 10. They were hijacked. The time we were now considering Bill 10 in the House, even those who had, even those who had offered to come and support it had been hijacked and taken to President Hakainde's community house, and that's how Bill 10 failed. But I have challenged them. You see, the misfortune with a good document is that you can make it look dirty, but you will need it in future. Yeah. I have actually said that with whatever UPND is going to do now, as long as what they're going to do is not going to reach the threshold of Bill 10, they will not be successful in passing any constitutional amendments. And the procedure they're trying to use now to engage in amending the Constitution is rather unconstitutional.
UPND said we didn't need Bill 10. In fact, the Constitution was a good document. We needed to allow it to be tested. So it was very surprising as soon as President Hakainde Hichilema won elections and appointed your young brother Mlambe Haimbe as Justice Minister. Yes. His first pronouncement was that we're going to clean up the Constitution. Yes. We're going to effect constitutional amendments.
The same document they were saying.
So it raised the issue of hypocrisy.
Yes.
Colleagues, you rejected Bill 10. Now, Chua Milagalo,
yes.
Kuluma Imbwa. But now how are you allowing, why do you want to amend the Constitution?
Yeah. And then, you see, of course, you hear what they're suggesting, the so-called low-hanging fruits, etc. For me, when you begin to talk about an important document like the Constitution, and you begin to suggest things like low-hanging fruits, it means you don't have good intentions. Yeah. Good intentions means go to the people. Let the people tell you what they want. But like I said, the literature that we are sitting with in this country to effect any constitutional amendment is so rich that you don't even have to distinguish between what is a low-hanging fruit and what is not a low-hanging fruit. For me, I've challenged the UPND, and I can repeat it even here. I've said the best way for the UPND to pass, to amend, to deal with the lacunas that exist in Act Number 2 of 2016 today is for my younger brother, Honorable Mlambo Haimbe, to just go to the closet at his ministry, collect Bill 10 from the shelf, dust it, and begin to
build consensus.
Yes, begin to engage with us.
They don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No, this is a document that we did together. We had agreed with it. Okay, we may have one or two clauses that we need to, and if those clauses are very convincing, we will say, look, I haven't said it. Look, I don't think I can fail to convince the Patriotic Front as its chair of legal on a document that themselves had originated to come and dispute it today. If it is amending 1 or 3 clauses, we will definitely tell them, I think this can be done. But you see, for me, what I intend, what I would like them to do is to demonstrate good faith. Unfortunately, the UPND, in their relationship with the Patriotic Front, have demonstrated bad faith at any angle of the engagement, be it formal engagement, be it informal engagement.
No, the history, even in 2010, they scattered the very well-planned constitutional amendments in 2010 that had gained maximum attention, and they just said it was an Arabic document and it was rejected on the floor at the last minute.
In 2001, we were with them in the coalition. We were trying to make a coalition of opposition political parties who were working very hard, around the clock, trying to come up with the coalition of opposition political parties to field one candidate. They scattered it. 90% of work had been done, and we were about to announce a big coalition of opposition political parties when somebody surfaced with a parallel that they were working with, which wanted to pit the UPND ahead of everybody else. And that is what actually led to the loss of
So can they be trusted by stakeholders?
My question
like I said, Chwamila Galu, Kuluma Mbuzi had said Kuluma Imbwa. Kuluma Mbuzi.
Yeah. Look, my question exactly. And see, they know how to create an environment where mistrust will thrive.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Savage.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you, lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.